Chapter 4287 Inch I Want Kill You. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. If she worked together with Buttface and the small silver snake, it wouldn't be difficult to kill Nguyen Lu. However, if she was killed, she would provoke the fierce tiger hunting group. She had just arrived, so it was better for her to keep a low profile. She felt that since the fierce tiger hunting group didn't attack directly this morning, they must be afraid. Thinking of this, she said to Nguyen Lu, "If you are not afraid of Tu Lai coming back to punish you, you can continue to tangle with me. I don't care anyway." Nguyen Liu's expression changed. She seemed to have thought of something and snorted coldly, "Ugly monster, sooner or later, you will fall into my hands. Let's wait and see." Dog 2 eagerly went to Yun Chujia's side and said, "Little fairy, why have you been so abnormal these 2 days? If it were in the past, you would have already cleaned up these dregs." The corners of Yun Chujia's mouth curled up. "There's no other way. I'm not strong enough now. Take it slow. There's no rush." Buttface saw the sinister smile on Yun Chujia's face. He lit a candle for the fierce tiger hunting group, Old 5 and Old 6. He actually dared to offend the little fairy? "I can't trick you to death." At this time, Silver said in a low voice, "Little Gio, it just so happens that those people aren't here. Let me out. I'll use this time to make a breakthrough." Yun Chujio said sourly, "TK, as expected of a person with a seal. A breakthrough every day. Truly amazing." Di Baiming could not help but laugh when he heard her say this. He did not tell her that his elemental energy level had already reached the 6th level of the origin core realm. Yun Chujio placed the small silver snake inside the wooden house. Although her lust was stirring, she was afraid that someone would come and cause trouble, so she could only reluctantly stand guard outside the wooden house. Thinking of the perfect body of a certain Guai Chao, this fellow hated Guai Chao. She originally thought that this time she was in the immortal soul state. Without Guai Chao as a jinx, she might be able to come to Kueishui. It was not impossible for her to work hard to get a little bean out. Who would have thought that this damn dogtail would actually follow her? She was so angry. This was because he couldn't bear to see her doing well. After this fellow cursed the Guai Chao a few hundred times, his lecherous heart was mischievous. He crouched at the gap of the wooden house and did not look inside. Who would have thought that he would be noticed by a certain someone inside? With a wave of his hand, Hei Shinjio fell down a fart. Hei Shinjio was so angry. Was he bullying her because she did not have elemental energy? She did not believe that such a talented genius like her would always be so useless. "Pretty boy, let's wait and see." The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She sat down cross-legged and tried to draw chi into her body, but she still got nothing. At night, Sha Wuhan and the others came back dejectedly. Yun Chujio didn't need to ask to know that it must be because she didn't get much today. After Yun Chujio arranged the dinner, the 6th brother threw the bowl hard. "Zhen Meili, don't you know how to make anything other than steamed buns? What a good-for-nothing." Yun Chujio didn't say anything, but she cursed in her heart. "Fuck, you can't die from being struck by lightning." Boom. A purple lightning bolt fell from the sky and struck 6th brother. 6th brother was knocked out, and black smoke was still coming out of his body. Hey Shinjio, did her jinx skill work again? Was 6th brother so vulnerable? Just as Hei Shinjio was in a daze, she saw Sha Wuhan and the rest kneeling on the ground. Hei Shinjio didn't understand and was afraid that something was wrong, so she quickly knelt on the ground as well. She stole a glance and saw that the people from the other camps were also kneeling on the ground. "Oh my, what's going on?" Chapter 4288, Ghost Ancestor. Just as Hei Shinjio was thinking about it, she saw Sha Wuhan and the rest kowtowing. After kowtowing 3 times each, they stood up and went to treat 6th brother, who was still emitting black smoke. Hei Shinjio was confused, but she could not ask directly. 6th brother woke up very quickly, but he spat out a mouthful of blood. Hei Shinjio was secretly happy. He deserved it. He deserved it. Sha Wuhan frowned and said in a deep voice, "Old 6, have you been disrespectful to the ghost ancestor recently? Otherwise, why did you get struck by the heavenly lightning?" Old 6 said angrily, "Big brother, I'm not an ignorant child. How could I be disrespectful to the ghost ancestor? In my opinion, it must be the bad luck brought by Jin Meili. She's a jinx, otherwise, how could I have been struck by lightning? Yun Chujio said faintly, Brother Six, you are wrong. If I were a jinx, the heavenly lightning should have struck me. Why would it strike you? Old Six spat out another mouthful of blood after hearing Yun Chujio's words. He almost fainted from anger. Sha Wuhan frowned. All right, stop talking. Help Old Six into the house to rest. Everyone helped fifth brother into the wooden house. Although he spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood, it was not a big problem. It just looked more tragic. Sha Wuhan and the others settled sixth brother in. Just as they were about to finish eating, Tu Lai came over with a few others. Sha Wuhan, TSK. Even the ghost ancestor can't stand it. Hurry up and hand over that thing, or you'll all be struck by lightning, Tu Lai said arrogantly. Sha Wuhan said coldly, Tu Lai, I've told you before. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you continue to be so aggressive, the 2 of us will activate the ghost contract and fight to the death. Tu Lai's expression suddenly became a little ugly. He said with a fierce expression, Sha Wuhan, good, very good. I'll see how long you can keep your mouth shut. After Tu Lai finished speaking, he left with his men. Everyone was in no mood to eat. After a few quick bites, they put down their chopsticks. Yun Chujio tidied up as she communicated with Buttface with her divine sense. What does the ghost ancestor and the ghost contract mean? Buttface shook his head and explained with his tail wagging. It's rumored that the ghost ancestor is a group of ghosts that cannot enter the reincarnation cycle. Their original destination was to have their souls scattered. However, they met a mysterious person and placed them here. When the ghosts saw that they had regained their bodies, they were ecstatic. However, when they came back to their senses, they realized that the mysterious person was nowhere to be found. They did not even know if it was a man or a woman, so they addressed him as the ghost ancestor. As for the ghost contract, the 2 of them activated the ghost contract in their bodies. Then, the 2 of them fought until one of them died. That was the end. No one was allowed to help. Yun Chujio frowned. That's not right. Didn't Prince Charming say that the ghost clan got their name because of the misunderstanding of the world? Why does it sound like they were originally called the Ghost Clan? Buttface said weakly, What your excellency said is just a rumor. I didn't dare to refute him. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. She was clearly the master, but these foodies were more afraid of the gigolo. What the hell? Yun Chujio suddenly remembered something and could not help but want to bang her head against the wall in frustration. Yuan Shun could break away from the physical body here and live like a normal person. It would be great if she could bring those remnant souls over. Then, they would be able to live like normal people. Chapter 4289 Spirit Soul. Although Yun Chujio was annoyed, there was nothing she could do. She asked again, You said that you activated the ghost contract in their bodies. What the hell is that? It said that before the ghosts were placed, the ghost ancestor left a soul imprint in their bodies. Although the ghost clan has been reproducing for so many years, they still have the soul imprint of the ghost ancestor in their bodies. However, it's getting weaker and weaker. Activating the soul imprint of the ghost ancestor is equivalent to swearing in front of the ghost ancestor. The ghost clansmen are very respectful to the ghost ancestor, so they naturally don't dare to break the agreement, explained Buttface. Yun Chujio nodded. If that's the case, then the ghost ancestor saved those ghosts for another reason. Otherwise, why would he leave a soul imprint in their bodies? Dog 2 said hesitantly, That might not be the case. Anyway, so much time has passed, and that ghost ancestor has never appeared. Moreover, that soul imprint has an important effect. What effect? Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. After the ghost clansman's essence energy reaches the 9th layer of the origin realm, they can summon spirit souls to help them in battle. Spirit souls can be beast spirits or plant spirits, and this is said to be because of the ghost ancestor's imprint. Yun Chujio was stunned. There's such an effect? Then, Prince Charming and I don't have the ghost ancestor's mark. If we cultivate to the 9th level of the origin realm, won't we be unable to summon spirit souls? But Face thought to himself, you haven't even managed to draw in chi into your body yet, and you're still thinking about spirit souls? You really think far ahead. But this fellow was only thinking in his heart, he didn't dare to say it out loud. Little Fairy, because the Ghost Clan's mark is getting weaker and weaker, not everyone in the Ghost Clan can summon spirit souls when they reach the 9th level of the Origin Realm. So even if you and your esteemed self can't summon spirit souls, it's not a big deal. Yun Chujio thought about it and agreed. To put it bluntly, this spirit soul was a helper. It did not matter whether it was there or not. Moreover, her priority now was to draw chi into her body. Other matters could be discussed later. However, she did not know what good thing Sha Wuhan had that Tu Lai coveted. However, Sha Wuhan was only a lowly commoner with low elemental energy. He probably did not have anything extraordinary. Tu Lai had not robbed Sha Wuhan openly. He was most likely afraid that Sha Wuhan would destroy that thing, so he used methods to force Sha Wuhan. In the next few days, Sha Wuhan and the rest did not manage to hunt any elemental beasts that they were satisfied with, and the date of paying the human head fee was getting closer and closer. The atmosphere in the camp became more and more stagnant. If they were driven out of Thorn Forest, then they could only go to the wilderness to hunt low-level elemental beasts like the saber-toothed gophers. Their days would be very difficult. Big brother, the day after tomorrow is the day we have to pay the human head fee. Unless we can hunt 2 Type 6 origin beasts tomorrow, we won't be able to raise the human head fee. The short fatty said with a frown. Sha Wuhan frowned and gritted his teeth. If we still can't raise the human head fee tomorrow, you guys can join other hunting groups. Your skills are not bad, they will definitely be looking forward to it. When everyone heard this, they immediately said, Big brother, what are you saying? Our lives were saved by you. Wherever you go, we will go. How can there be a reason to separate? That's right. We were born to be members of the wolf hunting group. If we die, we are ghosts of the wolf hunting group. How can we abandon you, big brother? Yun Chujio secretly pursed her lips. You guys are ghosts, alright. However, according to Buttface, if the ghosts died, their souls would be scattered and they would not even have the chance to reincarnate. This was not even comparable to humans. Chapter 4290 The little silver snake went missing. When Sha Wuhan heard everyone say this, his eyes turned slightly red and he said in a hoarse voice, Good, good. I, Sha Wuhan, am really lucky to have a bunch of brothers like you. Tomorrow, we'll take a gamble. I'll distract the fierce tiger hunting group while you guys go inside to hunt. We'll definitely be able to get through this crisis. Although everyone felt that the plan to kill Sha Wuhan was a little risky, they had no other choice but to take the risk. Yun Chujio noticed that Old 5 and Old 6 exchanged a glance. Her heart stirred. Could it be that these 2 scumbags wanted to do something bad? Hei Xinjia's eyes flickered. She did not have elemental energy now. If something happened to the wolf hunting squad, she would really have nowhere to go. Hence, she could not just watch Old 5 and Old 6 succeed. Hence, when everyone entered the wooden house to rest, Yun Chujio left Little Snake and Buttface in the wooden house. She transformed into a commonly seen abdominal pattern black ant and sneaked into the wooden house that Old 5 and Old 6 shared. Old 5 lowered his voice and said, Old 6, I've already found an opportunity to tell Tu Lai the news. Tomorrow, the 2 of us and the fierce tiger hunting squad will work together to control the others. Sha Wuhan can only use that thing to exchange for it. By then, we can be considered to have a firm foothold in the fierce tiger hunting squad. 5th brother, alright, I'll listen to you. I've had enough of this for a long time. Other hunting groups have big bowls of wine and big chunks of meat, and there are women playing with them. But what about us? Eating steamed buns and eating porridge every day. It's not easy for a woman to come here, and she's so fucking ugly. Just looking at her makes me sick to my stomach, Old 6 cursed. The 2 of them then discussed some specific matters. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. Tomorrow she would let these 2 ingrates show their true colors. Just as Yun Chujio was about to continue listening to what the 2 of them were saying, Dog 2's terrified voice came from her divine sense. Little fairy, come back quickly. The venerable one has disappeared. Yun Chujio was startled. What did he mean by the venerable one had disappeared? She quickly crawled back to her wooden house and saw that only dog 2 was left in the wooden house. The small silver snake had disappeared without a trace. Buttface did not wait for Yunchujio to return to her human form as he anxiously said, "Little fairy, after you left, His Excellency said that he could no longer suppress the elemental energy in his body and asked me to protect him. Naturally, I did not dare to refuse. Who would have thought that His Excellency would suddenly disappear in front of me after sitting cross-legged and meditating for a while?" Yunchujia's head buzzed. However, she quickly forced herself to calm down and asked Buttface about the incident again. She frowned. There were no signs of an attack, and the gigolo didn't show any signs of struggling. How could he suddenly disappear? Buttface was anxious and afraid. He was afraid that Yunchujio would blame him. His eyes kept rolling. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he asked, "Little fairy, what level is Your Excellency at now?" Yunchujio didn't know why Buttface suddenly asked such a question, but she still said, "It was the 8th level of the Yuanchu realm before." "Why are you asking this?" Buttface quickly said, "If it was the 8th layer of the Yuan dynasty, then this breakthrough should have reached the 9th layer of the Yuan dynasty. And once you reach the 9th layer of the Yuan dynasty, you can summon a spirit soul. Your Excellency might have gone to choose a spirit soul." Yunchujio was so angry that she wanted to strangle Buttface to death. "You idiot! The gigolo doesn't even have the mark of the ghost ancestor. Summon my ass. And you want to choose a spirit soul? Do you think that summoning a spirit soul is to buy cabbage at the market?" Chapter 4291 was heartbroken. Buttface said aggrievedly, "Little fairy, you only know one thing, but you don't know the other. Although the Venerable One doesn't have the Ghost Clan's mark, he used to be the Yen Clan's Xingzun. The Yen Clan, the Ghost Clan, and the Demon Clan all have some similarities, so it's not strange that the Venerable One can summon spirit souls. Although most spirit souls can be directly summoned by the Ghost Clan, there are some spirit souls whose bodies are bound and need to be summoned to claim them personally. Since the Venerable One is so awesome, perhaps the spirit souls chosen by him are very special. That's why he brought Your Excellency in." Yunchujio was skeptical. She stared at Buttface's eyes for a long time and only believed him when she saw that he did not look guilty at all. If what Buttface said was true, it could explain why the pretty boy disappeared into thin air. "Where do the spirit souls live?" Buttface looked confused. "Then I don't know. The spirit souls that are summoned can only stay in the host's spiritual sense and cannot go back. Moreover, no one has ever learned from the spirit souls where they came from." Yunchujio sat on the hay. If the pretty boy had really gone to the place where the spirit souls were, all she could do was to cultivate to the 9th level of the origin realm as soon as possible. Perhaps she might have a chance to go there to look for the pretty boy. Of course, the pretty boy might soon come out with the spirit souls. Thinking of this, her originally nervous mood eased a little. She recalled that D. Biming had told her several times that he wouldn't die. At first, she thought that he was comforting her, but later, she realized that D. Biming was extremely serious. "Little Gio, no matter when, where, or what the situation is, you have to believe me. I won't die." Yunchujio thought of what Tower Master Luochen had said to her, "What if everyone wants him to die?" Her heart ached. Although she didn't know D. Biming's true identity, she was certain that Tian Dao, or more accurately, the human heart, wouldn't allow such an immortal person to exist. Therefore, he must have suffered an unimaginable calamity before, and he must have also suffered inhuman torture. Buttface saw Yunchujio's face instantly filled with tears, and he couldn't help but panic. That little fairy, don't be sad. Your Holiness will be fine. Don't worry. Your Holiness has left. From now on Buttface, will protect you. I guarantee that no one will bully you." Yunchujio's heart, which was so painful that it was difficult to express, eased up a little after being interrupted by Buttface. She asked, "Is there any way to forcefully draw qi into your body?" Initially, although she was anxious, she was not too anxious. However, she had to reach the 9th layer of the origin realm as soon as possible. Only then could she find the missing D. Biming. Buttface hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth, and said, "It's not that there's no way. It's just that the risk is a little high. Little fairy, are you sure you want to try?" Yun Chujio did not say anything. However, when Buttface saw her determined gaze, he knew that she had already made up her mind. It could only continue. "I heard that when some ghost clans are on the verge of death, the elemental energy in their bodies will soar. They can even successfully summon people who originally could not summon spirit souls. This is just a rumor. I don't know if it can be trusted." Yun Chujio rolled her eyes speechlessly. Only a fool would do this. She reckoned that before her potential was fully unleashed, she would die first. Besides, she was a human and not a member of the ghost clan. Would this method work? However, she thought of Di Biming, who had disappeared without a trace. She gritted her teeth. Should she give it a try? Chapter 4292, The Existence of Awesomeness and Lightning. Yun Chujio glanced around the room. There was a kitchen knife in the corner. Yun Chujio had put it in the room for self-defense. She walked over, picked up the kitchen knife, and pointed it at her neck a few times, but she didn't do it. In the end, she threw the kitchen knife to Buttface. "Buttface, you do it?" Buttface shivered. "Little fairy, I don't dare." "You piece of trash. Hurry up. If you don't chop me, I'll chop off your dog head." "Hey," Shinjio said fiercely. Buttface had no choice but to pick up the kitchen knife with his claws. He gritted his teeth and cut a shallow wound on Yun Chujio's neck. Then, Buttface was stunned to see the wound disappear in an instant. Yun Chujio saw Dog 2's stunned face and scolded angrily, "What are you still standing there for?" "Oh. Little fairy, I row, but, Dog 2 was a little shocked, so it stuttered and didn't know what to say. It picked up the kitchen knife with a trembling hand and cut Yun Chujio's neck again. Then, it saw the wound disappear in an instant as if nothing had happened. Its dog eyes were wide open. Then, it seemed to have thought of something. It threw the kitchen knife on the ground and its eyes lit up. Little fairy, you are awesome this time. You are so awesome that you are not human." Yun Chujio. Just as she was about to teach Buttface a lesson, she heard Buttface say excitedly, "Little fairy, you are an old fart. Speak human language." Yun Chujio was so angry that she wanted to strangle this idiot to death. Buttface was really too excited. He shook his head and wagged his tail as he said, "Little fairy, you can change at will. So whether it's getting injured or cutting off your head, it doesn't hurt you at all. You're simply an awesome and lightning existence in this ghost realm. You are not afraid of death at all. In other words, you can't die at all." Yun Chujio opened her mouth wide and then jumped up. Yes, she could change her body at will. There was no question of whether she would die or not. She was simply begging for food with a treasure bowl. She was so stupid. She was actually afraid of this and that. What was there to be afraid of? She wasn't even afraid of death. So what was there to be afraid of? If this fellow wasn't afraid of being heard by others, she would have laughed out loud 3 times. With this heaven-defying skill, what was there to be afraid of? However, she still felt that she shouldn't be too smug in her excitement. After all, she didn't know much about the ghost realm. Although she could change her body at will, she could also turn her body into several light spots. However, if someone in the ghost realm knew of some evil method that could trap her or kill the light spots, she would have nowhere to cry. Therefore, although this skill was heaven-defying, she couldn't use it as she had no other choice. Now, the problem came. Although she had discovered a heaven-defying skill of her own, if she didn't have elemental energy, even if others couldn't kill her, she couldn't kill them either. Therefore, she still had to think of a way to cultivate. Yun Chujio calmed down a little. She felt that listening to Dog 2's method previously was simply stupid. In times of danger, it could indeed stimulate one's potential. However, out of 10,000, perhaps only one could stimulate one's potential. The remaining 9,999 were all dead. She had also been desperate and had lost her rationality. Fortunately, her constitution was special. Otherwise, she would have died just like that. She was simply a laughing stock. Chapter 4293 had finally succeeded. Dog 2 also knew that it had come up with a bad idea just now. It was afraid that Yun Chujio would settle the score later. It rolled its eyes and said, "Little fairy, I think that you can't cultivate. The problem must be those 3 freeloaders. You still have to start with them." This fellow thought that if he died, his fellow Taoist would not die. No matter what, he had to throw the blame out first. Yun Chujio didn't have the time to settle the score with Dog 2. She also felt that she couldn't cultivate. The root of the problem was still Guai Chao and the other 2. She forced herself to regain her usual calmness and sorted out the recent events. Only then did she look inside her dantian. Guai Chao immediately swayed its leaves to flatter her. Yun Chujio said coldly, "The gigolo is missing now. You should know how important the gigolo is to me, so I don't have time to waste with you. If you don't want to fight to the death, then restrain yourself and let me cultivate normally. Since you followed me here, you must have something to ask. I promise you, as long as I can cultivate normally, I will help you achieve your wish." Guai Chao stopped swaying, but the great void mirror and the black bead did not have any reaction. Yun Chujio did not urge them. After a moment, the great void mirror and the black bead finally trembled slightly. Guai Chao also shook its leaves. Yun Chujio knew that they had compromised. It was not that she did not think of pressuring the 3 of them to eat their fill for free, but firstly, she did not have full confidence. She was afraid that it would backfire. Secondly, because of the small silver snake, she did not feel a sense of urgency. She wanted to feed the Guai Chao until it was full. She should be able to cultivate. She had to admit that humans were dependent. No matter how strong He Xinjiu was and how independent she was, with Di Biming by her side, she unknowingly had a backbone. Hence, she was a little lazy. After Yun Chujio convinced the 3 freeloaders to eat their fill, she immediately sat cross-legged and meditated. In an instant, Yuan Qi entered Yun Chujio's body and entered her dantian along her meridians. However, the 3 Guai Chao did not devour her like how they devoured the power of lightning. Instead, they did not move at all as if they despised her. Yun Chujio's heart moved. No wonder they did not allow her to cultivate previously. It seemed like they did not like this Yuan Qi. She thought about it. If her Yuan power increased, then after returning to her main body, her Yuan Shen would become stronger. Could it be that as her Yuan Shen became stronger, it was possible to expel the Guai Chao and the others from her dantian? Was that why they stopped her from cultivating Yuan power? The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that this guess was reliable. She could not help but become excited. Putting everything else aside, as long as she expelled the Guai Chao from her dantian, she would be able to have sex with a gigolo and give birth to a monkey. Because of this motivation, He Xinjiu spent the entire night cultivating and broke through one after another, directly rising to the 3rd level of the Yuanchu realm. Although Yun Chujio was very happy, she had suddenly become the 3rd level of the Yuanchu realm. How was she going to explain it to everyone? If only she could display her elemental energy level as the 1st level of the Yuanchu realm. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, But Face exclaimed, "Little fairy, why has your elemental energy level become the 1st level of the Yuanchu realm?" Yun Chujio was stunned at first, then with a thought, Dog 2 said in surprise, Your elemental energy level has become the 2nd level of the origin core realm again." Yun Chujio was simply overjoyed. So she could freely adjust her elemental energy level, but she could only keep a low profile but not high profile. But it was not bad, at least she could be used to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Dog 2 felt that this little girl in front of it was simply a monster. It then thought of old 5 and old 6's plans that Yun Chujio overheard and lit a candle in its heart for them. There was a good show to watch. Chapter 4294. Scheming Dog 2. Yun Chujio adjusted her elemental energy level to the 1st layer of the origin core realm. Out of habit, she reached into her sleeve pocket, wanting to tease the little silver snake. However, her hand was empty. Only then did she remember that the little silver snake had disappeared. Yun Chujio's originally happy smile instantly dimmed. A moment later, she braced herself and left the wooden house, starting to prepare breakfast. While Yun Chujio was cooking porridge, she suddenly thought of something. Her gaze landed on Buttface, who was currently having fun. "Buttface, what's your elemental energy level now?" Buttface blinked his dog eyes, but he still did not dare to lie. He said weakly, "No, not much. It's only at the 7th rank." Yun Chujio snorted coldly. "Looks like you also have a way to hide your elemental energy level, right?" Seeing that Dog 2 did not utter a word, Yun Chujio knew that this fellow had tacitly agreed. She had discovered that this scheming dog was really scheming. If she did not suddenly feel that something was amiss, she would really have thought that it was still at level 3. The reason why Yun Chujio felt that something was amiss was because she felt that she could break through to level 3 in one night. Dog 2 was an ancient fierce beast, and it had come to the ghost domain before. There was no reason that it had not broken through even after so many days. Yun Chujio ignored Dog 2 and continued to prepare breakfast. Dog 2 sneakily glanced at Yun Chujio. Seeing that she had no intention of settling the score later, it heaved a sigh of relief. It had no other choice. If others saw it cultivating so quickly, they would definitely suspect it. As today was the last day to raise the human head fee, the members of the wolf-killing hunting group also woke up very early. With a glance, the short fatty saw that not only was there elemental energy undulations on Yun Chujio's body, she was actually already at the first level of the Yuanchu realm. He could not help but exclaim in surprise, "Pretty girl, you've successfully induced qi into your body?" Yun Chujio's square-headed face revealed an excited and somewhat shy smile. "Yes, I suddenly succeeded last night." When the short and fat man saw Yun Chujio's honor, the corners of his mouth twitched. Fortunately, he was already used to it. Otherwise, he probably would not have wanted to eat breakfast. When Sha Wuhen and the others heard the short and fat man's words, their gazes also landed on Yun Chujio. They all came over to congratulate her. Lao Wu and Lao Lu looked at each other. They thought to themselves, so what if she channeled qi into her body? This ugly freak had previously offended them. After she dealt with Sha Wuhen and the others, she would come back and kill her. During breakfast, Yun Chujio said to Sha Wuhen, "Brother Sha, I'll go hunting with you later." Before Sha Wuhen could say anything, the short fatty said, "Pretty girl, although you're now at the first layer of the Yuanchu realm, you're still too weak. You'd better take care of the house." Yun Chujio sighed and said, "Tomorrow is the last day to pay the head fee. Today is very crucial. With more people, we can always have more help, right? Although my elemental energy is low, my body is strong. Maybe I can help." The short and fat man sneered and said, "Pretty girl, it's not that my words are unpleasant. No matter how strong your body is, it can't make up for the difference in elemental energy. If you follow us, you will be our burden instead." The others also echoed one after another. On the contrary, Old 5 and Old 6, who usually did not get along well with Yun Chujio, did not say anything. The two of them could not wait for Yun Chujio to follow them. When the time came, they would directly kill her, which would save them a lot of trouble. In the end, Sha Wuhen made the final decision. "Pretty girl, we appreciate your kindness, but considering that you have just reached the first layer of Yuanchu, you should stay in the camp." Hearing that, Yun Chujio did not say anything more. Anyway, she had a way to follow them even if they did not let her go. Chapter 4295 was followed by a string of poisonous stinger ghost bees after breakfast. Sha Wuhen and the others got up and left. Yun Chujio said to Buttface, "Find a place to hide. I'll follow you to take a look." Ever since Buttface knew that Hei Xinjiu was an invincible existence, he was not worried about her safety at all. He said eagerly, "Little fairy, don't worry. Although I'm not as powerful as you, I can still save my life." Yun Chujio believed what Buttface said. This guy was so scheming that he definitely had a way to save his life. After observing for a few days, Yun Chujio found that poisonous stinger ghost bees often appeared at the edge of the thorny forest. According to Short Fatty, the poisonous stinger ghost bee was only a rank 1 origin bug and was not worth much. Moreover, its stinger was poisonous. No one in the hunting group would hunt poisonous stinger ghost bees. Therefore, Yun Chujio transformed into a ghost wasp and flew towards the thorny forest. However, this guy had never transformed into a winged one before. Therefore, he flew unsteadily as if he would fall at any moment. Buttface could not bear to look at him. He was very suspicious. He reckoned that Sha Wuhan and the others were already killed before she reached her destination. He Xinjiu flew unsteadily for a while and finally flew in a decent manner. This guy thought to himself that there was actually no benefit to having wings. It was quite tiring to fly. The wings had to be flapped continuously. It was very tiring. On the way, she met a few of her own kind. The poisonous stinger ghost bees looked at Yun Chujio curiously and followed behind He Xinjiu. He Xinjiu felt like she was cursing a dog in her heart. Was there something wrong with these poisonous stinger ghost bees? Wasn't it better to fly separately? Why did they have to follow her? How could she know that although these poisonous stinger ghost bees lived in groups, they were different from other bees? There was not only one queen in each group, but also many female bees. Even so, the number of female bees was much less than that of male bees. The poisonous stinger ghost bee that He Xinjiu had coincidentally transformed into was a female bee. He Xinjiu looked at the string of poisonous stinger ghost bees following behind her and was so angry that she was twitching. She wanted to do something bad. How could she do something bad secretly by following a string of poisonous stinger ghost bees? However, this fellow rolled his eyes. Although these poisonous stinger ghost bees were very annoying, they might be able to help her. After Sha Wuhan and the others entered the thorny forest, they wanted to continue hunting for origin beasts above Tier 5. As expected, they were stopped by 2 fierce tiger hunting squad members. The 2 of them said with a fake smile, "Stop. The front isn't a place you can go. Don't look for trouble." Sha Wuhan said with a sullen face, "Bring me to Tu Lai. I have something to say to him." The 2 of them looked at each other before saying, "Seems like you've thought it through? Let's go then." When the short fatty and the rest saw that the 2 of them had left with Sha Wuhan, they could not help but feel delighted. They had thought that it would be very troublesome, but they had not expected things to go so smoothly. They checked their surroundings, but there were no other fierce tiger hunting group members around. They immediately headed towards the depths of Thorn Forest. Old 5 revealed a cold smile. "A bunch of idiots." The short fatty and the rest quickly encountered a Type 6 scarlet-eyed savage bear. Everyone was overjoyed. Due to its huge size, the price of a scarlet-eyed savage bear was higher than an ordinary Type 6 origin beast. If they killed it, they could basically raise enough money to pay the human head fee. After a bitter battle, they finally killed the scarlet-eyed savage bear. Before they could react, 5th brother put the red-eyed savage bear into his storage ring. The short fatty and the others didn't pay much attention to it. In any case, 5th brother had been keeping all the prey for the past few days. Chapter 4296, Swarm Attack. Old 5 and Old 6 exchanged a look and then whistled. Stumpy said in puzzlement, "Old 5, why are you whistling when you have nothing to do? We're exhausted now, and it would be bad if we attract other origin beasts or other hunting groups." Old 5 smiled lightly and did not reply. Stumpy felt that Old 5 was strange today. Just as he was about to say something, he saw more than 10 fierce tiger hunting group members surrounding them with malicious intentions. Short Fatty and the others hurriedly stood up. Before they could ask what these people wanted to do, Old 5 and Old 6 suddenly attacked. Short Fatty, who was closest to the 2 of them, was the first to bear the brunt and was controlled by the 2 of them. During the hunting process just now, Old 5 and Old 6 did not put in any effort. Hence, their elemental energy and physical strength were much more abundant than Short Fatty and the others. Although the remaining 4 struggled with all their might, they were still tied up by the fierce tiger hunting squad with ropes in the end. Short Fatty looked at Old 5 and Old 6 and was simply unable to contain his anger. "Old 5, Old 6, what do you mean by this?" Old 6 curled his lips. "What do you mean? Don't you understand even now? You're really as stupid as Sha Wuhan. Do you know why Brother 5 kept all his prey in his storage ring? Just to trick you, a bunch of idiots. You deserve to be implicated by Sha Wuhan." The Short Fatty was simply aggrieved. He glared at Old 5 and Old 6 with red eyes. "Your lives were saved by Brother, but now you're colluding with the fierce tiger hunting group. Do you still have the right to call people?" Old 6 looked a little embarrassed. Old 5 said with a sneer, anyone can say that, but in this world, survival is the most important thing. Moreover, we don't want to kill Sha Yuan's life. As long as he obediently hand over the thing, I believe that Commander 2 won't take his life. Bullshit. It's clearly you guys who are afraid of death, yet you still say such high-sounding words. We're really blind. We still treat you guys as brothers. The short fatty cursed angrily. The short fat man and the others felt that they were doomed today. They originally thought that the plan was very smooth, but they didn't expect that the other party would play along. Even if Boss Sha wasn't killed by the other party would still use their lives to threaten Boss Sha. Even if Boss Sha handed over the things, Tu Lai probably wouldn't let them off. At this time, dozens of poisonous stinger ghost bees flew towards a fierce tiger hunting group member. One of the poisonous stinger ghost bees had a crafty look in its small eyes as it rushed towards that person's eyes. The person didn't expect that these first-rank ghost wasps would dare to provoke a cultivator. He cried out in pain, "My eyes! It hurts so much! Save me!" The others were also shocked, but they didn't pay too much attention to it. It was just a first-rank demonic insect. With a wave of their hands, these ghost wasps would all die. What surprised them was that these ghost wasps were very smart. Once they attacked, they would fly into the air. They could only stare and couldn't do anything to hurt them. However, once they stopped, they would fly over and launch a sneak attack, making everyone very passive. However, as time passed, the ghost wasps fell into a disadvantage. A few of them were swept by the wind of their palms and turned into meat paste. No one noticed that one of the stinger wasps that had been flattened once again flew up with a buzzing sound, and it was even more lively than before. Chapter 4297 Poisonous Wasp 9 The resurrected poisonous wasp flew towards Old 5's eyes. Old 5 was very alert and quickly swung his palm towards the poisonous wasp. The poisonous wasp was swept by the palm wind and fell to the ground with a wobble. Old 5 snorted coldly and walked over, wanting to completely kill the poisonous wasp. Unexpectedly, the poisonous wasp that was already on its last breath suddenly pounced towards his face. Old 5 originally thought that the ghost wasp was already half dead. He didn't expect it to suddenly counterattack. Although it avoided his eyes, its nose was ruthlessly pierced by the poisonous sting. Old 5 covered his nose and cried out, retreating to the back. Disdain flashed in the eyes of the ghost wasp, and it flew into the swarm to continue fighting. The fierce tiger hunting group members were very anxious because of the stinger ghost wasps. Although their spiritual power was much higher than those stinger ghost wasps, those stinger ghost wasps were obviously toying with them. Unknowingly, they were drawn away by those stinger ghost wasps. A faint light flashed in the eyes of the stinger ghost wasp that had come back from the dead. It buzzed and flew to the front of the short fatty. The short fatty closed his eyes. It was over. He was now tightly bound. He could only let the needle ghost wasp attack him. When the needle ghost wasp saw the short fatty's heroic appearance, it could not help but laugh. Its two front claws suddenly turned into two small saws, cutting the short fatty's rope with a swoosh. The short fatty was completely dumbfounded. Although he did not see what was going on, there was no one on his side here. It was definitely the needle ghost wasp that helped him break the rope. How did it do it? Why did it help him? However, now was not the time to study this. It was more important to escape. The short and fat man hurriedly took out a knife from his storage ring to help others cut the rope. However, he was seen by sixth brother. He cried out in surprise, "Fifth brother, second brother has broken the rope. Quickly catch him." The short and fat man gritted his teeth in hatred. However, he had no choice but to fight with sixth brother and fifth brother. He knew that he had to stall for a little longer, so that the strange poisonous stinger ghost bee would have time to break the ropes of the others. Therefore, the short fatty roared and activated all of his strength, blocking the attacks of the two people in an instant. When the poisonous bee 9 saw this, she looked at the short fatty in a new light. She did not stay idle and secretly cut the ropes of the other 4 people. The 4 people were the same as the short fatty. Although they were a little puzzled as to why the ropes would break by themselves, they did not have the time to think too much. They immediately took out their weapons and met up with the short fatty. Even so, the fierce tiger hunting group, together with 5th and 6th, had twice the number of people as the short fatty and the others. It was too difficult to win. When the fierce tiger hunting group saw that the short fatty and the others had escaped, they immediately ignored the poisonous stingers and ghost bees. They all surrounded them, wanting to regain control of the 5 people. How could the poisonous stinger ghost bees let them get what they wanted? They immediately rushed towards the face of one of them without any regard for their own safety. When the other poisonous stinger ghost bees saw their beloved doing this, they immediately followed suit and rushed towards the face of those people. This action was no different from committing suicide, but in order to win the favor of a beauty. These poisonous stinger ghost bees also went all out. Although a few members of the fierce tiger hunting group were stung, more than 10 poisonous stinger ghost bees were also smashed into meat paste, including poisonous B9. Chapter 4298. The bee trap. The drones thought that Wasp 9 had been killed. Just as they were about to disperse, they were pleasantly surprised to see Wasp 9 flying out from the bushes again. Those poisonous stinger ghost bees were quite low in intelligence, so they didn't feel anything wrong and once again followed Wasp 9 to charge into the formation. As for the members of the fierce tiger hunting group, they saw that these poisonous stinger ghost bees were all the same. How could they tell which was which? Therefore, no one noticed that Wasp 9 had been resurrected again and again. The poisonous Wasp 9 relied on the fact that he was a pervert who couldn't die and stabbed several people. Very soon, more than half of the members of the fierce tiger hunting squad were stabbed by the poisonous stingers, even if they didn't pierce their eyes. However, the poison also greatly weakened their fighting strength. Their heads were swollen like pig heads from being stung. They were in a very sorry state. They were so angry that they almost fainted. These poisonous stingers and ghost bees usually didn't attack cultivators. They didn't know what was wrong with them today that they wanted to make things difficult for them. However, the short fatty and the others saw a glimmer of hope. The more they fought, the braver they became. As long as they persevered until Sha Wuhan rushed over, they weren't afraid of these people. This was because, firstly, Sha Wuhan's spiritual power was higher than Tu Lai's. Secondly, Tu Lai was afraid that Sha Wuhan would destroy the things in his hands, so he definitely didn't dare to tangle with them. Thirdly, there were more than 20 hunting squads in Thorn Forest. If Tu Lai did not have full confidence, he would not dare to fight to the death with the wolf hunting squads. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from afar. Sha Wuhan, Tu Lai, and the others had arrived. Sha Wuhan was rough, but there were details. Although he did not react at that time, when he saw that only half of Tu Lai's men were left, he immediately realized that he had fallen into a trap. Tu Lai did not dare to act forcefully, so he could only let Sha Wuhan come here. He felt that this was not a big deal. In any case, according to the estimation of the time, 5th brother and the others had already succeeded. When the time came, he would use Shorty and the others to threaten them. Sha Wuhan was the most loyal person, so he was not afraid that Sha Wuhan would not comply. However, when he saw the situation in front of him, he was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. Although Shorty and the others had many wounds on their bodies, they were much better compared to those pigheads of the fierce tiger hunting squad. What the hell was going on? A member of the fierce tiger hunting squad cursed, "Commander, we had already controlled these 5 people. Who knew that a group of poisonous stinger ghost bees would fly over and attack us for no reason, causing us to be in such a sorry state." When poisonous B9 heard his words, he was afraid that the remaining poisonous stinger ghost bees would lose their lives as well. He immediately brought his admirers and flew away. Poisonous B9 felt that since Sha Wuhan had come, Tu Lai would be cautious. He reckoned that the short fatty and the others would be able to escape unscathed. In that case, her task now was to think of a way to collect the human head fee. A servant like her did not need to pay the human head fee. Other than her, there were 6 people left in the wolf-killing hunting group. Each of them had 5,000, which was 30,000 low-grade yuan coins. Last time, Sha Wuhan said that he only had 20,000 low-grade yuan coins. These days, the prey were all in the hands of that ingrate fifth, so he could only hunt a 6th-grade demon beast. Therefore, this guy brought a group of admirers to walk around the thorny forest. He had only one goal, which was to attract enough admirers and then hunt a 6th-grade yuan beast. This fellow had tried to use the beast taming technique to contract these poisonous stinger ghost bees, but found that it had no effect. Presumably, the beast taming technique was useless against origin beasts, so he could only use the bee trap. Chapter 4299. Jin Meili ran away on the other side. The short fatty loudly said to Sha Wuhan, "Big brother, old fifth and old sixth, these two ingrates, have already pledged their allegiance to Tu Lai. We have all been deceived by them." Sha Wuhan had already guessed a little when he saw the situation on the scene. He did not say anything and instead raised his saber and approached the people surrounding the short fatty. Those people were intimidated by Sha Wuhan's killing intent and could not help but open a path for him. Tu Lai gritted his teeth. He estimated in his heart what the chances of winning were if he forcefully made a move. At this moment, Lao Wu said to Tu Lai in a flattering manner, "Commander Tu, the rank 6 demonic beast they killed and the demonic beast they killed recently are all in my storage ring. They won't be able to gather enough money for the human head fee tomorrow." Tu Lai narrowed his eyes and said to Sha Wuhan, "Sha Wuhan, you heard it, right? Even if I spare you today, you have to get out of Thorn Forest tomorrow. Have you thought it through?" Sha Wuhan snorted coldly, "Don't bother. We have our own ways." Although Tu Lai was unwilling, he could only let Sha Wuhan and the others leave. Anyway, if they couldn't pay the human head fee tomorrow, they could only lower their heads to him. After Sha Wuhan and the others left the encirclement, the short fatty and the others were still going to hunt. Sha Wuhan waved his hand and said, "All of you are injured. Even if we can kill a few low-level origin beasts, it won't be of any help. Moreover, if Tu Lai is desperate, it won't be easy. Let's go back to the camp first." Hearing this, the short fatty and the others could only follow Sha Wuhan back to the camp. "Big brother, where did Jin Meili go? And her dog is missing too." The short fatty looked around but didn't see Yun Chujio. Sha Wuhan frowned. "Maybe she went to the toilet? The pretty girl's stomach doesn't seem to be very healthy." After a while, when the crowd saw that Yun Chujio hadn't returned, the short fatty said angrily, "I know. This Jin Meili must have thought that we couldn't gather enough money tomorrow, so she ran away. How heartless." "That's right. To think that we still treated her like a sister. We built her a wooden house and brought her some wild fruits to eat. I didn't expect that she would run away at this time. It's really a case of everyone running away in the face of a great disaster. This Jin Meili looks like a simple and honest person, but she's actually a snobbish person." Sha Wuhan's expression was very ugly. He thought that he had a good eye for people, but today he suffered a series of blows. First, Old 5 and Old 6 joined Tu Lai, and then even Jin Meili, whom he had recruited, ran away. Sha Wuhan thought of the storage ring and origin beast bag that he had half sold and half given to Yun Chujio, and felt a chill in his heart. It seemed that he had really made a mistake. Soon, the sky darkened, and everyone's mood was gloomy. They did not even have the mood to eat. Sha Wuhan's mouth opened a few times. Finally, he said, "Our wolf-killing hunting group originally had the smallest number of people, and now Old 5 and Old 6 have defected to Tu Lai. Even if we can barely scrape together the human head fee tomorrow, we still can't pay next month's human head fee. So, we'd better disperse." The short fatty was about to say something. Sha Wuhan waved his hand and said, "No need to say any more. Over the past year or so, I've dragged you guys down. I still have 20,000 low-grade yuan coins here. You guys can split it with me. Then, you can join other hunting groups tomorrow." At this moment, someone suddenly said leisurely, "So what if we have fewer people?" "Fewer people has the advantage of having fewer people. I think it's a good thing that we don't have a black sheep." The short fatty looked up and exclaimed, "Jin Meili? Didn't you run away? Why are you back?" Chapter 4300. Three-eyed ghost wolf Sha Wuhan and the others also looked towards the source of the sound. They saw Yun Chujio strolling over from the edge of the forest. She even followed the yellow puppy. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and said with a smile, "Who said that I ran away? Am I a person who doesn't care about loyalty? I just went to settle some matters." The short and fat man and the others were all stunned. She was clearly still the same big, square-headed and ugly freak, but for some reason, the feeling she gave people now was different, especially her eyes. It was as if they were brighter than the stars in the sky. Everyone was silent for a moment. The short and fat man said snappily, "Why didn't you look after the camp properly? Why didn't you cook properly at home? Why did you run around for no reason? If you were accidentally eaten by the origin beasts or killed by other hunting groups, you would have nowhere to cry." Yun Chujio knew that this short and fat man's words were not pleasant to hear. He was actually a good person, so she was not angry. She smiled and said, "Aren't you going to ask me what I'm going to do?" The short and fat man curled his lips. "What else can you do? You're just going to pick wild vegetables or something like that. Could it be that you're going to hunt origin beasts? Not to mention anything else, even a tier 1 poisonous stinger ghost bee could kill you." At this point, the short fatty suddenly remembered that after returning to the camp, everyone had been frowning and had forgotten to tell them about the poisonous stinger ghost bee that had cut their ropes. Just as the short fatty was daydreaming, he heard a loud bang and a huge three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse appeared in front of him. The short fatty, Shawuhan, and the others were dumbfounded. They rubbed their eyes almost at the same time. Were they hallucinating? The three-eyed ghost wolf was a level 6 origin beast. Where did Jin Meili come from? After a long silence, the short fatty stammered, Jin Meili, where did you get it?" "I picked it up," Yun Chujio said with a smile. "Picked it up? Who was she kidding? This was a level 6 origin beast. How could she pick up a level 6 origin beast so easily?" Hei Shinjio looked at them with a smile. She naturally did not pick up this origin beast, but it was this guy who led hundreds of admirers to ambush it. Previously, after Yun Chujio left with the remaining admirers, she had been swaggering around in the forest. After spending more than 2 hours, she finally managed to attract a long string of admirers. However, Hei Shinjio knew that even if there were hundreds of poisonous stinger ghost bees behind her, it was still quite difficult to hunt a level 6 demonic beast. She had to use a surprise attack to win. This fellow had been lucky. She had encountered a three-eyed ghost wolf that was already injured on its leg. In the chaos, she rushed towards the eye on the forehead of the three-eyed ghost wolf without caring about her own safety. She did not expect to hit the right spot. The weakness of the three-eyed ghost wolf was the eye on its forehead. After being stabbed by Hei Shinjio, its fighting strength was greatly reduced and it died very quickly. Yun Chujio secretly put the three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse into her storage ring. The poisonous stinger ghost bees were not very intelligent. Although it was strange, how did their prey suddenly disappear? However, they still followed the poisonous stinger ghost bees and flew away. Hei Shinjio got what she wanted. She went to a hidden place and transformed herself into a withered branch. The poisonous stinger ghost bees circled around for a while and then dispersed. After the bees left, Hei Shinjio learned her lesson. This time, she transformed into a tricolored ghost butterfly and leisurely flew to the edge of the forest. When she reached the hidden place, she transformed into Jin Meili's appearance. Dog 2 was summoned and rushed over. This was how the previous scene happened. Chapter 43:01 The Blessing of the Ghost Ancestor. Yun Chujio collected her thoughts. She smiled and said, "I really picked it up. I've been living alone since I was young, so I know a little about medicine. I saw that my brothers were often injured, so I wanted to pick some herbs at the edge of the forest. I accidentally went too far, so I rushed back. I didn't expect to find this origin beast on my way back. If you don't believe me, look at the holes on this three-eyed ghost wolf's body, and it's a little swollen. It was most likely attacked by some demonic insect. I guess it didn't die on the spot. Instead, it ran to the edge of the forest in a panic. That's how I managed to take advantage of it." When everyone heard this, they became a little more convinced. There were indeed many holes on this three-eyed ghost wolf's body. In particular, the eye on its forehead had already been pierced into a bloody hole. Clearly, This was its fatal wound. The short fatty suddenly slapped his thigh and said, "Beautiful girl is right. This three-eyed ghost wolf was definitely killed by those poisonous stinger ghost bees. If it wasn't for those poisonous stinger ghost bees, none of us would have been able to escape, especially one of them. It even cut our ropes. I don't even know how it did it." The short fatty said and gestured, recounting everything that had happened. Sha Wuhan was still skeptical about Yun Chujia's words, but after hearing what the short fatty said, he immediately believed her. At this moment, the short fatty said excitedly, "Previously, those poisonous needle ghost bees saved us, and now, they indirectly gave us a level 6 origin beast. The ghost ancestor must have appeared. Previously, the ghost ancestor must have struck sixth brother to remind us. It's a pity that we were too stupid to understand the ghost ancestor's intentions. Otherwise, we wouldn't have let fifth brother and sixth brother, those two bastards, kidnap our prey." Suddenly, Sha Wuhan knelt on the ground with a plop, and so did the short and fat man and the others. Hei Xinjiao was dumbfounded, but she had no choice but to kneel with him. Sha Wuhan and the others knelt 3 times respectfully and said sincerely, "Thank you, ghost ancestor, for your blessing." Hei Xinjiao rolled her eyes secretly. What did this have to do with the ghost ancestor? It was all thanks to her, all right? However, this fellow felt that it was better this way. With the ghost ancestor taking the blame, it would be much more convenient for her to do things in the future. After everyone knelt down to worship the ghost ancestor, they stood up. The short and fat man scratched his head and said somewhat embarrassedly, "Pretty girl, I said a lot of unpleasant words earlier. Don't take it to heart." The others also came over to apologize. They felt that what they said about Yun Chujio running away was too much. Yun Chujio said with a smile, "It's not strange if you don't know. Besides, we're all family. There's no need to treat us as strangers. Brother Sha, now that we have this level 6 origin beast, doesn't it mean that the wolf-killing hunting group doesn't need to be disbanded?" The short fatty and the others looked at Sha Wuhan eagerly. Sha Wuhan clenched his fist. He said hoarsely, "The wolf-killing hunting group was founded by me, so I naturally don't want to disband. Since the Ghost Clan has helped us through this crisis, then let's give it another try." The short fatty and the others immediately cheered. Although they could join other hunting groups with their skills, they would rather eat chaff and swallow vegetables with Sha Wuhan than be with those people. The corner of Yun Chujia's mouth curled up. However, when she took a glance at the storage ring in her hand, her gaze instantly became a little subtle. Chapter 4302 Joining the gang. The storage ring on Yun Chujia's hand was half sold and half given to her by Sha Wuhan. However, Di Baiming had already marked it with his spiritual sense. If she wanted to use it, she would have to erase the spiritual sense that Di Baiming had left on it. How could she bear to do that? Coincidentally, while searching for prey, she picked up an old storage ring. It was probably left behind by a fallen cultivator. She put the three-eyed ghost wolf's body into the ring without using the original ring. However, the guy was thinking that the pretty boy's clothes should still be in the ring. Then, the problem was, if he went to the place where the spirit was, wouldn't he run away if he accidentally transformed? The corner of Hei Xinjia's mouth curled up. The scene was very satisfying. Just as she was thinking about it, Sha Wuhan walked over. "Pretty girl, you have made a great contribution this time, but you are not a hunter of our wolf-killing hunting group, so this three-eyed ghost wolf should be borrowed from you. In the future, when we have more money, we will convert it into yuan coins and return it to you." Yun Chujio was really stunned when she heard that. She did not expect Sha Wuhan to say so, which made her impression of him a little better. Her heart moved slightly and she said, "Brother Sha, how about this? You don't have to give me any yuan coins. Take it as the money you gave me for the storage ring and the essence beast bag. Also, I have a presumptuous request. Can I join your wolf-killing hunting group and become a hunter?" Sha Wuhan was a little hesitant. Although he felt that Jin Meili's character wasn't bad, she was only at the first layer of the origin realm and wasn't qualified to become a hunter at all. The short fatty said from the side, "Big brother, just agree. Although beautiful girl's origin energy is low, Isn't she just absorbing qi into her body? Who knows, her cultivation speed might be very fast in the future. Moreover, beautiful girl's luck is much better than ours. Once she joins, our future days will definitely be flourishing. The short fatty now had an extremely good impression of Yun Chujio. Although this Zhen Meili was ugly, her character and luck were both good. Moreover, even if she joined the hunting group, she could choose not to participate in the hunt and still stay in the camp to cook. She just needed to pay a little more. Sha Wuhen had obviously thought of this as well, hence, he smiled and said, "All right, pretty girl, then you will be a member of our wolf hunting group from now on. However, one thing is another. When we have yuan coins, we will still give them to you. Since you are ranked 9th, then we will call you 9th sister." Yun Chujio, she was really fated to be 9th. She was actually ranked 9th again? Brothers, why don't you just call me Little Gio? This guy still felt that Little Gio was more pleasing to the ears than 9th sister. Everyone agreed readily. Logically speaking, if there were fewer people, they should be ranked again. However, everyone disliked the rankings of 5th and 6th, so Sha Wuhen directly ranked Yun Chujio as 9th. Now, there were a total of 7 people in the wolf-killing hunting group. The eldest killed Sha Wuhen, the second was short and fat, the third was a scholar, the fourth was a leopard, the 7th was bald, the 8th was thin, the 9th, Zhen Meili. Sha Wuhen looked at his subordinates. To be honest, he really didn't have much confidence. With the 5th and 6th gone, their combat strength had weakened quite a bit. It was likely that they would still have a hard time in the future. After returning to the wooden house, Buttface asked curiously about what had happened. Yun Chujio immediately gave a simple explanation. Buttface said with a fawning expression, "Little fairy, you're really amazing. You're too good at attracting bees and butterflies." Yun Chujio said, "Get lost." Chapter 4303 Hurricane Division 1. The next morning, Yun Chujio woke up to find that Sha Wuhen and the others had also woken up early. Yun Chujio could not help but wonder, was this a conscience-stricken decision to cook for her? However, Yun Chujio quickly realized that she was thinking too much. Sha Wuhen and the others did not help her cook. Instead, they cleaned up the camp and walked around the camp anxiously. Yun Chujio asked the short fat man, "Second brother, why are you up so early today?" The short fat man said, "Because today is the day to pay the human head fee. Every time those people come to collect the human head fee, they will find fault with us, so our hearts are uneasy. We can't sleep even if we want to." "Right, second brother, who exactly is the person who comes to collect the human head fee? Why does he make us pay the human head fee?" Yun Chujio asked, puzzled. The short fatty's expression changed when he heard that. He lowered his voice and said, "You should be more careful when you speak in the future. Be careful that you don't let trouble come out of your mouth. The person who collects our human head fee is one of the 3 great hunting groups in the base region, the Hurricane Hunting Group." Hurricane Hunting Group? Their name sounds pretty good. Are they very powerful? Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. The short fatty simply scoffed at her question. However, he still patiently explained, "Of course they're powerful. The several hundred people in the Hurricane Hunting Group are all outstanding individuals in the base region. Let me put it this way. Our boss Sha's elemental energy should be considered as well known in this area, but the weakest hunter in the Hurricane Hunting Group is at least 4 levels higher than his elemental energy." Yun Chujio frowned. Sha Wuhen was at the 7th level of the Origin Realm. If the weakest member of the Hurricane Hunting Group was 4 levels higher than him, that meant that the weakest member of the Hurricane Hunting Group was also at the 2nd level of the Origin Realm. It was indeed very powerful. "Second brother, since the Hurricane Hunting Group is so strong, is there a need to exploit us little shrimps? Can't they just casually hunt a high-level demon beast?" Yun Chujio asked, puzzled. The short and fat man shook his head and said, "You don't know that. There are many subgroups under the Hurricane Hunting Group. The ones who collect our head fee are the people from the first subgroup of the Hurricane Hunting Group. They are not as strong as the people from the main group. The head fee they collect is considered a good income. Moreover, they collect it every month. The accumulated amount is also very considerable. Then what is their strength? They are generally 1 or 2 levels higher than us. Anyway, we can't afford to provoke them. Don't talk too much later to avoid attracting trouble. The short and fat man instructed. Yun Chujio nodded. She was not strong enough now, so naturally, she would not cause trouble for no reason. The group had just eaten breakfast when they saw dust flying in the distance. It was obviously the people from the first division of Hurricane. Yun Chujio raised her head and looked into the distance. She saw a group of people riding the Gale Ghost horses. They were wearing the same uniform and there was a big flag in front of them with the words, First Division of Hurricane, written on it. Those people quickly approached from afar, but they did not dismount. Instead, they directly charged into various camps, completely disregarding the people and items in the camps. Everyone dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. No one dared to say anything more, and they obediently handed over yuan coins or the corpses of origin beasts of equivalent value to them. Occasionally, there would be a group of people who could not pay the full human head fee and were directly driven out of the camp. Some who walked slightly slower would even be whipped by those people. Sha Wuhan and the others' faces were slightly pale. If it wasn't for little Gio coincidentally picking up the three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse yesterday, they would probably have the same fate today. Very quickly, a person rode a horse and rushed to Yun Chujio's camp. That person looked at the three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse with disdain and said, although this three-eyed ghost wolf is a 6th-rank origin beast, its fur is incomplete and cannot be sold for a good price. At most, it will cost you 15,000 yuan. There are 7 of you now, and you are still lacking 20,000 yuan. Chapter 4304 brought little Gio to hunt. The short and fat man wanted to explain that Yun Chujio was only a servant last month and only became a hunter this month, but he was stopped by Sha Wuhan with his eyes. These people were completely unreasonable. If they said anything, it would cause trouble instead. So, they might as well give them money and send them away. Thus, Sha Wuhan transferred the remaining 20,000 yuan to that person. That person then snorted coldly and headed to another camp. When everyone saw that person leave, they heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, this month could be considered to have passed. Tu Lai saw that the wolf-killing hunting group had actually collected the human head fee. He could not help but feel a little embarrassed and angry. He glared at Old Five and said, "Didn't you say that Sha Wuhan simply could not collect the human head fee?" Old Five was also puzzled as to how Sha Wuhan and the others had collected the human head fee. Could it be that Sha Wuhan had hidden some private money? It was really detestable. He rolled his eyes and said, "Boss, don't be angry. Even if they pay this month's human head fee, they won't be able to collect it next month. Now, including that ugly freak, there are only 7 of them. As long as we don't let them pass through the blockade line, they can only hunt 3rd or 4th level origin beasts. Even if we tire them to death, they won't be able to collect enough." Tu Lai felt that what Lao Wu said made sense. Since they had already wasted so much time, it was not a bad idea to wait for another month. The various hunting groups left the camp one after another and entered the forest to hunt. Sha Wuhan said to Yun Chujio, "Little Gio, you stay at home and guard well. We're going to hunt." Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Big brother, bring me in to experience it. Although I'm a little weak, I'll just watch from a distance." Sha Wuhan saw her persistence and thought about it again. Since they couldn't enter the depths of the forest, it wasn't impossible for them to bring her along. Therefore, He Xinjiu followed behind Sha Wuhan and the others with Buttface. Buttface thought to himself, "Do these people still think that the little fairy is a weak chicken? TSK, this is a pervert who can't die. With her as a teammate, you guys are simply lucky." As these hunting groups had been hunting here, the number of origin beasts at the edge of the thorny forest became fewer and fewer. The wolf-killing hunting group had walked for nearly 4 hours before they encountered a level 3 golden spotted ghost deer. The group did not spend much effort to kill the golden spotted ghost deer. The short fatty cursed, "These level 3 and level 4 origin beasts are becoming fewer and fewer, and they are not worth much. Those bastards still don't want us to go in. How infuriating." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. What if we force our way in? It's not that we haven't tried, but we haven't been in for long. Before we encounter a high-level origin beast, those bastards will come and chase us away. They are all in cahoots with that Tu Lai. The short and fat man said in a bad mood. Tu Lai's fierce tiger hunting group was considered a relatively large hunting group in Thorn Forest. The other hunting groups had gotten some benefits from him, so they joined forces to exclude the wolf hunting group. Moreover, there were few monks or meat. They wished that they could kill the wolf hunting group and get chased away if they couldn't gather enough human head fees. This way, they would have one less competitor. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her mouth. We can't go in. Maybe those 5th or 6th tier demonic beasts will come out by themselves. The short fatty rolled his eyes. Little Gio, were you frightened by the people from the 1st Division of Hurricane this morning? Why are you talking nonsense? Those level 5 and level 6 origin beasts did not move around in the periphery at all, let alone the other hunting groups that were still blocking them. Even if there were really high-level origin beasts that wanted to escape, they would be killed by them first. The corners of Yun Chujio's mouth curled up. She thought to herself, that was only possible if they could stop them. Chapter 4305. Killing a New World. When the short fatty saw that Yun Chujio was silent, he thought that she had been convinced by him. In the past, although he was the second brother in the hunting group, those bastards were not as diligent as little Gio. There was actually a sense of accomplishment. After a moment, everyone felt the ground shake and their expressions could not help but change. What was going on? At this moment, a beast roar came from afar. The deafening roar was simply terrifying. Following that, other hunting groups ran over, rolling and crawling. As they ran, they shouted, "Run! Run! The origin beasts are revolting!" The short fatty wanted to run when Yun Chujio grabbed him and said, "Second brother, why are you running? Didn't you worry about not having any origin beasts to hunt? Now that a good opportunity has come, why are you still running?" The short fatty almost died from anger. "Little Gio, are you stupid? This is an origin beast riot. If you don't run, are you going to wait for death here?" Yun Chujio said with a smile, "If they say it's an origin beast riot, then it's an origin beast riot. Isn't the head of state's riot on a fixed date? How can it be a riot? Moreover, if it was really the head of state's riot, would it only have such a small number of people? Those people must have been blind." The short fatty pondered for a moment. What she said made sense. After listening carefully, his voice seemed to have become much softer. Could it really be that those people were wrong? Sha Wuhan glanced at Yun Chujio. He had previously thought that Jin Meili was an orphan who couldn't cultivate, but now he realized that she wasn't that simple. However, she was right about one thing. The other hunting groups had all been scared away. Now was a great opportunity for them to enter and hunt high-level origin beasts. Although it was a bit risky, Sha Wuhan still decided to give it a try. After all, such an opportunity was too rare. Thus, he said to everyone, "Let's go in and take a look. But everyone be careful. The situation isn't right. Retreat immediately." Although the short fatty did not quite agree, he did not say anything and followed everyone inside. Not long after entering, they encountered a three-eyed ghost wolf. The few of them were overjoyed and immediately surrounded and attacked. Hei Shinjio brought Buttface along to watch the commotion from afar. Occasionally, they would help shout slogans or something. This fellow thought to himself that Go Weiba did not eat for free. Sometimes, it was still somewhat useful. Yun Chujio silently cursed while keeping an eye on the battle situation. Sha Wuan's elemental energy and combat techniques were obviously higher than the others. After 15 minutes, the three-eyed ghost wolf died. The short fatty laughed heartily in joy. "That's great. With this three-eyed ghost wolf, we can kill some 3rd or 4th tier elemental beasts to gather enough human head fees." Yun Chujio secretly curled her lips when she heard that. Look at how promising he was. Her goal was not just to collect the human head fee. She wanted to establish the strongest hunting group in the Ghost region, a hunting group that could contend with the royal family. A hunting group that could dominate the Ghost region. Initially, she did not think that way. She only wanted to use some means to get the fiery red glaze and leave the ghost region. However, after Di-beaming disappeared, she changed her mind. According to Lan Luochen, she guessed that there was a huge conspiracy against Di-beaming. It was very likely that Di-beaming would become the target of everyone. However, if they held the ghost realm in their hands, even if everyone wanted to be their enemy, they would have a way out. So what if they were enemies with the whole world? At most, she would kill her way out. It was still the same sentence. If anyone dared to touch her gigolo, they would kill God and Buddha. Chapter 4306. Rough skin and thick flesh. Just as Hei Shinjio was thinking about it, she heard the short fatty shout in surprise, "Ha!" Another one came, "We're rich." Yun Chujio looked up and saw another three-eyed ghost wolf running over in a panic. Sha Wuhan and the others naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity, so they immediately went to surround it. Yun Chujio slowly followed behind with butt face, thinking about the next plan in her heart. First, naturally, it was to increase her own elemental energy. Without strength, everything would be for naught. Second, it was to seize power. Next, it was to increase her strength. As long as she had the primitive accumulation, she believed that with her means, her power would soar like a snowball. After thinking about it, it was better to cultivate first. Moreover, only after cultivating to the 9th level of the origin realm would one have the chance to enter the spirit soul world to look for the gigolo. Of course, the gigolo might come back very soon. With the gigolo, it would be even easier. Yun Chujio was still in a daze when she heard the short fatty exclaim, "Little Jio, be careful." Yun Chujio looked up and saw that the three-eyed ghost wolf had actually jumped out of the encirclement and pounced towards her. It was already too late for Sha Wuhan and the others to come and save her. Their hearts sank. It was over. Little Jio would be seriously injured even if she didn't die. Sha Wuhan was so regretful that his intestines were about to turn green. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have brought her here. However, it was too late to say anything now. Just as everyone was worried, they saw the earthy yellow puppy beside Yun Chujio barking at the three-eyed ghost wolf. The short fatty grinned. "You're a mixed breed, a dog, and a puppy. What's the use of barking anymore?" Could it be that the three-eyed ghost wolf was afraid? However, the next moment, the short and fat man staggered because he saw the three-eyed ghost wolf, which was dozens of times the size of a khaki pup, lying on the ground with its front legs. To be precise, it was lying on the ground. Before he could recover, he saw Yun Chujio take out a short knife and stab the eye on the three-eyed ghost wolf's forehead. The short and fat man's head buzzed. She was courting death. Initially, the three-eyed ghost wolf had inexplicably collapsed on the ground. She only needed to dodge and jump away, and they would be able to rush to rescue her. Now, she was courting death by attacking the three-eyed ghost wolf. She was really courting death. She was only in the first layer of Yuan Chu, and the three-eyed ghost wolf could send her flying with a single claw. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? The situation was basically the same as what the short fatty had expected, with only a slight deviation. Hei Shinjio was indeed sent flying, but the short knife in her hand had also pierced the eye on the three-eyed ghost wolf's forehead. The three-eyed ghost wolf roared furiously and tried to attack Yun Chujio, who was lying in the distance again. However, it was stopped by Sha Wuhan and the others. As the three-eyed ghost wolf's vital part had been stabbed, it was killed by Sha Wuhan and the others not long after. However, the others were not happy. That was because they saw the khaki puppy surrounding little Jio's corpse and whimpering softly. It was over. Little Jio might already be dead. Just as everyone's faces were filled with grief, they saw Yun Chujio slowly stand up. It looked like nothing had happened. How was this possible? Not to mention her, even Sha Wuhan had suffered quite a serious injury from that hit. How could she be fine? Under everyone's astonished gazes, Yun Chujio slowly walked over and said self-deprecatingly, "I don't have any other good points, but my skin is rough and my flesh is thick, so I'm more resistant to being beaten." Chapter 4307 was quite fruitful. Sha Wuhan and the others were dumbstruck. How could this work? No wonder little Nine, an orphan girl, could live safely until now. It turned out that her body was so strong. And that little puppy of hers didn't look simple either. They had really underestimated her. The short and fat man grinned and said, "Little Nine, it seems that second brother has really underestimated you. Not to mention, you were really quick when you stabbed the three-eyed ghost wolf just now. You are really good material to be a hunter." The others also echoed. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her mouth and said, "Brothers, if you want to praise me, we have plenty of time to do so when we return to the camp. Now, we should seize the time to hunt a few more high-level origin beasts. Don't waste this good opportunity." Everyone felt that what she said made sense. Although they did not know what exactly was going on, today was indeed a good opportunity. Not to mention other things. The 2 three-eyed ghost wolves that they had already captured were enough to pay for the next month's human head fee. If they hunted a few more, their lives would be greatly improved. Immediately, everyone continued to search for origin beasts. Yun Chujio continued to follow behind them at a leisurely pace. "Buttface, you're good. You scared that three-eyed ghost wolf with just 2 barks," Yun Chujio said with a faint smile on the corner of her mouth. Buttface said smugly, "Little fairy, no matter how bad I am still an ancient fierce beast. If I wasn't afraid of being too eye-catching, I wouldn't even need to bark. Just a little pressure from me could scare that unlucky thing to death." Yun Chujio curled her lips. She naturally knew what Buttface was thinking. This guy was probably afraid that she would despise him for being useless, so he showed off today. Scheming dog. When it was almost evening, Sha Wuhan said to the excited crowd, "Although it's a rare opportunity, once it gets dark, it's too dangerous inside. Let's go back to the camp." Hearing this, Yun Chujio looked up to Sha Wuhan even more. He was able to resist the greed in his heart and knew when to stop. Sha Wuhan was really not bad. Although the short fatty and the others felt that it was a pity, they respected Sha Wuhan very much. Therefore, even though they were unwilling, they still followed Sha Wuhan back to the camp. As soon as they arrived at the camp, Tu Lai brought his men over. He said mockingly, "Tihe, I thought you guys died inside. You really want money but not your lives. Looking at you guys, you must have obtained quite a good harvest. Could it be that you've captured a rank 6 origin beast?" The short fatty was about to say something when Sha Wuhan said indifferently, "You don't have to worry. We still have to prepare dinner. Please go back." Tu Lai was hit by a soft nail, and his eyes revealed a bit of viciousness. However, he did not say anything and left with his people. The originally good mood of everyone was instantly dimmed by his interference. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. In her heart, she was really curious about what on earth Sha Wuhan had that Tu Lai was so persistent. However, everyone had their own secrets. If Sha Wuhan did not say anything, she naturally would not ask. She smiled and said, "Big brother, can we eat a big piece of meat today?" Sha Wuhan adjusted his mood and said in a clear voice, "Naturally, not only today, but from today onwards, we will eat meat every meal." The reason why Sha Wuhan had such confidence was because they had hunted a total of 10 6th and 3 5th grade origin beasts today. Even if they could only hunt 3rd and 4th grade origin beasts from now on, they would be able to hold on for at least half a year. Chapter 4308. Melting City. Everyone happily began to prepare dinner. When the aroma of the stewed meat wafted out, everyone could not help but swallow their saliva. There was no other way. Eating steamed buns and wild vegetables every day was simply too gluttonous. After everyone had a full meal, the short fatty's eyes reddened as he said, "It must be that Lord Ghost Ancestor saw that we were suffering too much, so he gave us this opportunity." As the short fatty spoke, he knelt on the ground with a plop and started kowtowing reverently. Sha Wuhan and the rest also knelt on the ground. The 7-foot-tall man's eyes reddened. When a person was in despair, a small bit of luck was enough to make them remember it for the rest of their lives. Hei Shinjio rolled her eyes speechlessly. Since they all knelt down, she could only kneel down as well. It was very awkward for her to kneel down and thank herself, "All right." In the next few days, although Sha Wuhan and the rest could not enter to hunt due to the blockade of the other hunting groups, they still managed to hunt quite a number of Tier 3 and Tier 4 origin beasts. Everyone's food standards had obviously improved. It was either stewed meat or meat porridge. Everyone was so happy that they could not close their mouths. That morning, Sha Wuhan said to everyone, "Everyone, take a day off today. I will go to the market town to sell the origin beasts and exchange them for some rice noodles." No one had any objections. If they directly used the origin beast to pay for the head fee, they would lose a lot. They might as well go to the town and sell it themselves. Yun Chujio owed her son and said, "Big brother, I will go with you." Sha Wuhan agreed without any hesitation. He felt that it was Yun Chujio who brought them good luck. Moreover, he reckoned that she had never been to a decent town before. It would be good to bring her around. Thus, Sha Wuhan brought Yun Chujio out of the camp and headed towards the largest town nearby, Melt City. Although there were still a few small towns nearby, the price of a 6th-rank origin beast was not cheap, and they had quite a number of them, so they could only forego the short distance to go to a city like Melt City. The two of them did not have any transportation tools, so they could only rely on their 2 legs to travel. After walking for 4 hours, they finally arrived at Melt City. Although Melt City was a relatively large town, it was also dilapidated in Yun Chujio's eyes. However, no matter what, there were 2 rows of shops on both sides of the road, so it was not too bad. Sha Wuhan brought Yun Chujio into a shop that specialized in purchasing origin beasts. After negotiating the price, they sold all the origin beasts to this shop for a total of more than 200,000 yuan. Yun Chujio originally thought that Sha Wuhan would be ecstatic when he saw so much yuan for the first time. However, she discovered that although he was a little happy, he did not have much of an emotional fluctuation. Yun Chujio had a rough guess in her heart. Sha Wuhan's background was probably not bad. It was just that he had gone through some unforeseen circumstances and ended up in this state. "Little Jio, keep these yuan coins. You deserve it." Sha Wuhan transferred 15,000 yuan coins to Yun Chujio without any explanation. There were many people on the street, so Yun Chujio couldn't refuse. Besides, she really had a use for money, so she smiled and said, "Thank you, big brother. Let's go to the shop in front and take a look." The two entered a grocery store. There were quite a lot of customers inside. The shop assistant saw that the clothes on Yun Chujio and Sha Wuhan were very tattered, so he didn't bother with them and let them see for themselves. Yun Chujio wanted to buy a few ghost talismans. According to Buttface, the talismans in the ghost realm were called ghost talismans, but the method of drawing ghost talismans was firmly controlled by the aristocratic families and the royal family, not to mention these commoners. Even commoners didn't have the chance to learn. Chapter 4309, Ghost Talismans. Yun Chujio had always been very confident. She felt that if she bought a few ghost talismans and went back to study them, she should be able to learn them even if no one taught her. However, she didn't know if there were any ghost talismans in this grocery store. She cleared her throat and asked the staff, "Staff, do you have any ghost talismans in your store?" The moment Yun Chujio's words left her mouth, the entire store fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at her as if they were looking at an idiot. Yun Chujio was puzzled. Did she say something amazing? Why were all of them looking like they had seen a ghost? Just as this fellow was in a daze, Sha Wuhan grabbed her sleeve and dragged her out of the shop without any explanation. At the same time, the people in the shop burst into laughter. "Haha, that ugly freak actually wants to buy ghost talismans? I'm dying of laughter." "Yeah, where did this idiot come from? Buy ghost talismans? Not to mention that there are no ghost talismans for sale in the base domain. Even if there are, can she afford them?" Hey, Shinjio cursed Buttface, who was in the origin beast bag. "Buttface, didn't you say that there are ghost talismans for sale in the base domain? Give me an explanation." Buttface said weakly, "When I was in the ghost domain, there were indeed people who sold them. Who knew that they would be gone now? It's not my fault." Yun Chujio continued to teach Buttface a lesson. Sha Wuhan asked in a low voice, "Little Jio, why did you buy ghost talismans?" Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. I heard that ghost talismans are very powerful, so I used them to protect myself. Sha Wuhan shook his head. You grew up alone, so it's no wonder you didn't know about ghost talismans. Although ghost talismans are powerful, they are also very expensive, so there are no ghost talismans sold in the base domain. Some people can buy one or two from other channels, but unless it's a life-threatening situation, no one will use them. Yun Chujio said a few words to Sha Wuhan perfunctorily, then frowned slightly. She originally wanted to use the ghost talismans to quickly increase her strength, but it seemed that she had to think long and hard. The two of them bought a lot of rice, flour, oil, and other items from other shops, then returned to the camp. When they arrived at the camp, it was already evening, and the sky was gradually darkening. However, what they did not expect was that Tu Lai and the others would greet them with malicious smiles. While the short fatty and the others were tied up, their faces bruised and swollen. Sha Wuhan flew into a rage, asking sternly, Tu Lai, what do you mean? Tu Lai replied with a fake smile, Sha Wuhan, I don't have the patience to continue playing with you, so today, either you hand over the items to me, or I'll kill them. It's your choice. Tu Lai did not want to gamble at first, but it just so happened that a hunter from the fierce tiger hunting group also went to Melt City today. He just happened to see Shaohan selling a lot of Tier 6 origin beasts, and when he came back, he told Tu Lai about this matter. When Tu Lai heard this, he could not sit still. He originally thought that he could use the human head fee to force Sha Wuhan, so he did not plan to take the risk. However, now that Sha Wuhan actually had money, he could only take the risk. Tu Lai, quickly release him, or else I will destroy that thing, Sha Wuhan said coldly. Tu Lai sneered, this move of yours used to be useful to me, but it's useless now. I'm going all out today. If you want to destroy it, then destroy it. In any case, if you destroy the thing, these 5 people and the 2 of you will all die. The short fatty and the others' mouths were gagged. Although they struggled with all their might, they could not make a sound. However, their intention was obvious. They wanted Sha Wuhan to ignore their lives and leave quickly. However, how could Sha Wuhan abandon them? Chapter 43:10 The item in Sha Wuhan's hands. Sha Wuhan knew that he had been forced into a dead end. Regardless of whether he handed over the item or not, he was afraid that he would be doomed today. At this moment, Yun Chujio said weakly, Brother Sha, I'm just a servant. This is the matter of your wolf hunting squad. Don't drag me into it. Hurry up and ask them to release me. The fierce tiger hunting squad members immediately laughed out loud. This ugly freak was really realistic. However, it was also true that nothing was more important than life. Sha Wuhan was slightly puzzled. He felt that Yun Chujio was not such a person. However, at this point in time, one had to live. Hence, he said to Tu Lai, let her go first. Otherwise, he'll turn around and leave. With my skills, you won't be able to stop me. Tu Lai's eyes flickered as he weighed the pros and cons in his heart. After all, she was just an ugly freak. It didn't matter if he let her go. Hence, he waved his hand and the fierce tiger hunting group made an opening. Yun Chujio ran away as if there was a dog chasing after her. Sha Wuhan heard Yun Chujio whisper a word in his ear before she left, delay. However, what was the use of delaying for a while? Tu Lai ignored Yun Chujio, who had quickly disappeared. Instead, he said to Sha Wuhan, are you going to hand it over or not? The veins on Sha Wuhan's forehead bulged. His eyes were bloodshot. Whether he handed it over or not, he would die. Moreover, Tu Lai could not let the others go like he had let little Jio go. This time, he was determined to get that thing. Sha Wuhan recalled what Yun Chujio had said before. Now, he could only make a last resort. Hence, he said, this matter is of great importance. Give me an hour to think about it. Otherwise, I will fight you to the death. Tu Lai thought that they were now like fish in a barrel. He was not afraid that he would play any tricks, so he agreed. Time passed quickly. An hour was almost up. Sha Wuhan let out a long sigh in his heart. Forget it. No matter what, he had to save the lives of the short fatty and the others first. Tu Lai, I can give you the item, and even my life can be at your disposal. However, You have to swear to the ghost ancestor that you will let the 5 of them leave, and that you will not pursue them. Tu Lai nodded. Yes, I promise you. Tu Lai immediately swore a poison oath, but he laughed coldly in his heart. He would not pursue and kill these 5 people, because they had already been poisoned, and they would not be able to live even if they wanted to. This was also the reason why he had shut the mouths of the short fatty and the others. Sha Wuhan had never thought that Tu Lai would be so vicious. Seeing that Tu Lai had already sworn a poison oath, he took out an old sheepskin scroll from his storage ring. Tu Lai's eyes immediately lit up. As expected, Willow did not lie to him. Sha Wuhan actually had such a priceless treasure. Tu Lai immediately impatiently wanted to snatch the sheepskin scroll from Sha Wuhan's hands. However, he heard someone shout, Tu Lai, how dare you? With such a good thing, you actually want to hide it by yourself. You're not taking our regiment commander seriously. Tu Lai was shocked. He looked up and immediately staggered. He saw that the person who came was actually a member of the Hurricane Hunting Group's 1st Division, and it was the small leader who was responsible for collecting their head fee. Although Tu Lai was surprised why he suddenly came, he did not dare to offend him. He hurriedly said in fear and trepidation, Master Shi, why are you here? The small leader snorted coldly. If it wasn't for someone reporting it, if it wasn't for our regiment commander's foresight and letting me spy on you in the dark, I really would have let you get away with it. You really have a lot of guts. You actually want to keep the good stuff for yourself. Do you want to die? Chapter 43:11 Audacious Tu Lai's legs went weak and he almost knelt on the ground. He said in fear and trepidation, Master Shi, you've misunderstood. I forced Sha Wuhan to hand over the thing because I wanted to give it to Commander Ji. Since you're here, it'll trouble you to give this thing to Commander Ji. The leader frowned and sized up Tu Lai. Is what you said true? It's absolutely true. Even if you lend me some courage, I wouldn't dare to deceive you. Tu Lai's heart was like a beeping dog. Damn it, who leaked the news? If he knew, he would definitely kill him. The leader took the sheepskin scroll from Su Wuhan's hand and flipped it a few times before storing it into his storage ring. Tu Lai's heart was aching to death. He had stared at this piece of fat meat for so long, but in the end he had made a wedding dress for someone else. He was so depressed that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. The little leader said again, Tie him up and hand over those people to me. They'll bring them back and let the regiment commander deal with them. Tu Lai was a little puzzled. Sir, these people... Before he could finish his words, the little leader said impatiently, Just do what I tell you to do. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Since this person has this thing on him, the regiment commander will naturally interrogate him properly. Tu Lai smiled apologetically and said, Yes, yes. Sir, you are truly thoughtful. However, I have fed them the soul-severing powder. This is the antidote. Do you need me to send someone to escort them for you? The little leader said even more impatiently, Do you think that I am the only one who has come? They are waiting in front. Don't dawdle. Hurry up and hand them over to me. Tu Lai heard that there was still someone waiting for him and immediately dispelled his last thought. He immediately tied Sha Wuhan up, tied the 6 people into a string, and handed them over to the leader. The leader held a yuan coin in his hand and tossed it a few times. Then, he said with a fake smile, Tu Lai, do you understand what I mean by this matter? Tu Lai immediately understood what he meant. He immediately said obsequiously, Master Shi, this 100,000 yuan is just a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it. The little leader nodded. You are quite tactful. Don't worry. I will put in a few good words for you in front of the regiment commander. Tu Lai said a few more words of gratitude. Only then did the little leader smile and leave with Sha Wuhan and the others. When the little leader, Sha Wuhan and the others disappeared, Old Five said with some uncertainty, Boss, why do I feel that something is not right? Although that Lord Shi's aura is very strong, it seems that his elemental energy level is only at the first layer of the origin realm. Tu Lai glared at him and said snappily, he probably used some treasure to hide his spiritual energy level. Moreover, who is so daring to pretend to be a member of a regiment? Does he not want to live anymore? Lao Wu was scolded so much that he shrank his neck and didn't dare to say anything. However, he still felt that something was wrong. On the other side, the small leader saw that no one was chasing him. He took the cloth from the mouths of the short fatty and the others, then stuffed the antidote into their mouths and cut off their ropes. Sha Wuhan and the others were confused. What did he mean by this? The leader said, "Don't just stand there. Little Gio. I don't have time to explain to you now. Hurry up and leave. Are you waiting to be chased by Tu Lai?" Sha Wuhan and the others were dumbfounded. Little Gio? He was Little Gio? How was this possible? Not only did she pretend to be a member of a group, but she also extorted 100,000 yuan from Tu Lai? This was simply outrageous. Chapter 43:12 Explanation. However, that little leader surnamed Shi was very similar in size to Little Gio. They were all of the strong type, but where did Little Gio get the clothes? Yun Chujio ignored Sha Wuhan and the others' puzzled gazes. She estimated that Tu Lai would not react for a while. Moreover, even if the matter was exposed, he might not have the courage to report it, because he could not explain why he had not reported it to the First Division previously. However, it could not be ruled out that other people had informed the First Division in order to get rid of Tu Lai or to curry favor with the First Division. Therefore, it was best for them to leave the area under the control of the First Division. Thinking of the sheepskin scroll in her storage ring, her eyes flashed. She did not expect Sha Wuhan to actually have a book on drawing ghost talismans in his hands. Although it was only some beginner-level ghost talismans, it was still considered a heaven-defying treasure in the base region. No wonder that Tu Lai had always been afraid of taking things by force. Everyone ran for a few hundred li in one go. Only when they could no longer run did they stop. Bai Li and the others ran for a few hundred li. At this time, it was already the second half of the night. Yun Chujio found a corner and transformed into her previous appearance. The reason why she dared to pretend to be that little leader was because she was certain that there was no one in the camp who was 5 levels higher than her, thus, no one would be able to discern her true gender. Yun Chujio returned to the team. The short and fat man circled Yun Chujio a few times before giving her a thumbs up. "Little Gio, I didn't expect you to actually have such a skill. Second brother can be considered to be in awe of you." Yun Chujio smiled and said, "It's nothing much. The main thing is that the one with the surname Shi and my physique are very similar. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to pretend to be him." Sha Wuhan raised his eyebrows. "Little Gio, where did you get the clothes from Division 1? Yun Chujio laughed dryly as if she was a little embarrassed. "Well, didn't I pick up a 3-eyed ghost wolf's corpse before? I also picked up a storage ring. The clothes were found inside." As Yun Chujio spoke, she took out an old storage ring. One look and one could tell that it was quite old. Only then did everyone feel relieved. They guessed that the people from Division 1 might have died in the thorny forest for some reason, so they let Little Gio take advantage of them. The short and fat man clicked his tongue in wonder. "Little Gio, let's not talk about anything else. You're really bold. Not only did you deceive them, but you even extorted 100,000 yuan from that Tu Lai. Aren't you afraid that hell expose you?" Yun Chujio curled her lips. When that Tu Lai saw the people from the First Division, he was so scared that his claws were numb. How would he dare to question me? Moreover, there's a saying that goes, "A thief has a guilty conscience." He hurriedly wanted to clear himself. How would he have the time to question whether I'm real or not? When the short fatty and the others heard this, they were even more impressed with He Xinjiu. Only Sha Yuan's heart moved. Little Gio's thoughts were so meticulous. Was she really just an orphan girl? However, she did not know many things and seemed to be really isolated from the world. Could it be that she was born with such intelligence? Also, the short fatty and the rest did not notice. He noticed that although her elemental energy level was at the first layer of the origin realm previously, the pressure was very strong. How did she do it? Yun Chujio noticed Sha Yuan's sizing up gaze. She knew in her heart that he was interested in probing her. However, it did not matter. After these few days of observation, although Sha Yuan's thoughts were meticulous, his character was not bad. At this moment, the short fatty said, "Big brother, little Jiao, what should we do next?" Yun Chujiao heard the short fatty's words and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. In the past, the short fatty would only ask for Su Wuhan's opinion, but now he was asking her as well. This meant that she already had a certain status in their hearts. Chapter 43:13. Making Ghost Talismans. Sha Wuhan had yet to speak when Yun Chujiao stuffed the sheepskin scroll into his hands. "Big brother, I almost forgot. Keep this properly." Although Sha Wuhan had been thinking about this sheepskin scroll before, he was too embarrassed to ask Yun Chujiao for it. Now that she had taken the initiative to return it, he let go of the little bit of research he had on Yun Chujiao. No matter what, little Jiao was their savior. Even if he hid something, he would not harm them. He thought for a moment and said, "No matter what, Tu Lai will definitely not let us go. He is not worth being afraid of. After all, he will not give up hunting and chase us with all his might. However, once Division 1 finds out about this news, we will be doomed. Therefore, we will head to the Raging Fire Forest where Division 2 is located." Yun Chujiao curled the corners of her lips. "Big brother, do you think it's safe to go to the 2nd Division? Once Tu Lai spreads that thing of yours, not to mention the 2nd Division, even the main division won't let you off." The short fatty couldn't help but ask, "Big brother, what exactly is that sheepskin scroll in your hand? Is it very impressive?" Sha Wuhan gave a bitter laugh. At this moment, there was nothing to hide, so he handed the sheepskin scroll in his hand to the short fatty. After the short fatty received it, his eyes immediately widened and he stuttered, Ghost Talisman, a book that makes ghost talismans?" The others were also dumbfounded. This thing, let alone in the base domain, was also an impressive thing even in the flat domain. No wonder Tu Lai had always coveted this thing. The short fatty grimaced and said, "Big brother, little Nine is right. This thing of yours is too precious. If Tu Lai makes a ruckus, we won't have a place in the base region at all." The third scholar pondered for a moment and said, "Big brother, since the news has already been leaked, this thing of yours cannot be preserved at all. Why don't we offer it to Commander Wan of the 2nd Division? He should be able to protect us." Sha Wuhan shook his head, expressing his disapproval. The third scholar frowned. "Big brother, are you reluctant? Although I don't know what this sheepskin scroll means to you, this thing is dead and people are alive. Why are you so stubborn?" Sha Wuhan bitterly smiled. "How is it reluctant? Third brother, you only know the first part, but you don't know the second part. Even if I give this sheepskin scroll, there is no limit to human greed. They will guess that I have other treasures. In the end, it will be hard for us to escape death." As soon as Sha Yuan's words left his mouth, the third brother and the others immediately fell silent. Could it be that only death awaited them? He Xinjiao looked at Sha Wuhan and said with a faint smile, "Big brother, are you really willing to give this sheepskin scroll to them? If you're really willing to give it to them, I have a way to let us escape." Sha Yuan's eyes lit up. "What way?" Yun Chujiao was beaming with joy. Sha Wuhan, the short fatty, and the others were dumbfounded. How did this little Jiao's head grow? She actually thought of such an incredible method. However, this method was really feasible. It could save the sheepskin scroll and everyone's lives. "All right, little Jiao, well, do as you say." Sha Wuhan gritted his teeth. At this point, this was the only way. A few days later, a huge event happened in the base region that shook the entire base region and even the entire Ping region. The ghost ancestor had actually gifted several goatskin scrolls to make ghost talismans. Not only that, many shops had started selling paper books with the same content, even though it was only the basic ghost talisman production method. But this was enough to drive Ping region and the base region crazy. One had to know that in the past, the methods of making ghost talismans were firmly controlled by the aristocratic families and the imperial family, so the price of ghost talismans was very expensive. Now that they had books that taught elementary ghost talismans, although it was impossible for everyone to learn them, there would definitely be people who could learn them. The price of elementary ghost talismans would drop by a lot. which was a great thing for everyone. Chapter 43:14 Medicinal Soup. When the news reached Thorn Forest, Tu Lai almost died from anger. Later on, he felt something and asked around in secret. Finally, he realized that he had been tricked. However, he did not dare to report it to the First Division because he was afraid of being blamed. After all, if he had reported the news to the First Division earlier, Sha Wuhan would not have escaped. Before he could come to a conclusion, he heard that the world was filled with books that made ghost talismans. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Even if he used his heel to think, he knew that these books were definitely the same as Sha Wuhan's. Moreover, it was definitely Sha Wuhan's doing. However, who would believe it if he told others? Who would be stupid enough to take out such a precious thing? Moreover, everyone was convinced that this was the ghost ancestor's blessing. Even if he went out to make a ruckus, he would still be looked down upon by others. They would think that he was talking nonsense, so they could only keep this matter to themselves. At this time, Yun Chujio and the others had already arrived at the Raging Fire Forest, which was under the jurisdiction of the Second Division. Different from the previous times in Thorn Forest, the conditions of the wolf-killing hunting group had greatly improved. The clothes they wore and the things they used were not very good, but at least they were considered to be above average among the hunting groups in the Raging Fire Forest. The short fatty looked at the yuan coins in his storage ring and could not close his mouth. Little Gio, second brother, has only admired two people in his life. One is Big Brother, and the other is you. TSK, tell me, how did your brain grow? Not only did it save us from getting killed, but it also made us a lot of money. You are really too smart. Yun Chujio said with a smile, Second brother, this is just a small amount of money. We will definitely be rich in the future. Sha Wuhan listened with a smile on his face. A few days ago, they had bought the sheepskin scrolls and papers according to what Yun Chujio had said. Yun Chujio had also made templates according to the contents of the sheepskin scrolls and made several books with the same content. Then, she used a kind of medicinal liquid to make the books look very old. Finally, she volunteered to sell the books. She did not know how she did it, but in the end, she gave everyone 1 million low-grade yuan coins. Moreover, the books and sheepskin scrolls were also credited to the ghost ancestor's blessing. Just as Sha Wuhan was thinking about it, Yun Chujio said clearly, Come, the medicine is ready. You guys can drink it. Sha Wuhan looked at the pot of black medicinal soup that gave off a strange smell. He was a little afraid, but when he thought about how Yun Chujio said that this medicinal soup could speed up their cultivation, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and drink the medicinal soup. Yun Chujio was satisfied to see that they had drunk the entire pot of medicinal soup. This was the medicinal recipe that she had asked Guai Chao through coercion. Moreover, Guai Chao could not speak. Yun Chujio used a whole 3 days to guess the name of the medicinal soup that it had mentioned. It could be said that this pot of medicinal soup had not come easily. Yun Chujio pondered. If she wanted to have her own power, then other than herself becoming stronger, Sha Wuhan and the others also had to become stronger quickly. Otherwise, she would not be able to hold on by herself. The short fatty wiped the remaining medicinal juice from the corner of his mouth, grimacing as he asked, Little Gio, is this medicinal soup really useful? Your origin energy soared to the 7th level of the origin realm in a short period of time. Is it really because you drank this medicinal soup? Yun Chujio shamelessly nodded her head. That's right. I relied on this medicinal soup to cultivate. However, everyone's constitution is different. Perhaps the effects of drinking it won't be as good as mine, but raising 1 or 2 levels is still possible. The short fatty wanted to continue asking, but he clutched his stomach. Ouch, my stomach hurts. No, I have to go to the toilet. He wasn't the only one. Sha Wuhan and the others also looked pained as they ran to the toilet. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.